Hello and welcome by another instruction video for the iPico Wiz software. The 2.19 build, and I know it says 2.18 here at the top, but we'll skip over that, has some significant changes, so I figured I'd make a new instruction video. This will be in English, as there are some non-Dutch speaking customers that would also like to see the new features. We'll start with a new race and go step by step, and I'll explain each individual step as we go, so you can see how to make a race in iPico Wiz and what are the pitfalls and what things you should and shouldn't do. So let's get started. We have a race already visible, but we're not going to use this one, so we'll start by making a new race, which is this button up here, create a new event. We'll press it and we'll name the race demo race. Now for this race we'll also need a tag map file. The tag map file is actually a text file which tells iPico Wiz the link between the chip number, which persons can't really read or remember, and the bib number, which we do. So I have one prepared. You should generally get one of these when we send you a load of tags. So we'll use this one. It's a small one with just 32 tags. The first bib number is 1 and the last one is 32, so it should be fine. So when I press create, iPico Wiz will create a new race, which will be called demo race, which will have 32 contestants, and they don't really have a name yet. So we'll change that in the second step. This is all the distances, which is currently the only distance in use because all the contestants have the same distance. We're going to change that as well. You can download a Excel file which you can use to import the contestants by pressing this button. It will just create an Excel file, so I'll just use this as demo race contestants, and I'll probably put it in the correct folder. Save. So if you look at the demo race contestants, you'll see the demo race contestant.xls. It also contains one example which I suggest to remove, but it shows you which field goes where. So it's bib number, prefix, which isn't used anymore, first name, middle name, last name, the distance the contestant will run, its affiliation, the category, phone number and email, which are new, and we'll get to that later why we need the phone number, or well, you don't need it, you can just leave the field empty and it'll just ignore these features. But for now I already made a contestant file, so for easy import, so we'll use the import function to import contestants from the Excel file. You had a couple of options. We'll use Excel for now. We'll select the file, and that's an empty one, so I'll use the one I prepared. And it'll show you a preview of the first 5 rows it finds, so you can see if the columns line up with what's supposed to be there. So this looks good. Names are correct, affiliation looks sort of good, okay, category, distance, fine, so we'll import. There's a lot of rows there, which I probably should have removed, but this is fine. So we got 25 contestants, a couple of empty tags, and we only got one race, which is fine for the demo. Now we'll need to configure the race, because when you create a new distance it'll automatically default to gross timing, meaning that the start is given by the gun and not by running over the mods, and just a finish, so it's as simple as you can get. You can also see that because there's only one time here in the laps field. You can configure a distance by clicking on the little icon here, the edit icon, and you get some settings. Now for this race we're going to use netto timing, which means they'll run over the mods at the start and at the finish. I suppose I could also do a checkpoint along the way. So this is a start, meaning that you have a start mat and a finish mat, and we also want a checkpoint, which we'll do at, oh well, I guess 2500 meters is fine. Now the status, you have the gun time here, which you can manually fill, but it's much easier to use the button time from the reader, so we'll just leave that. Status inactive, fine, the race has started, this is good. Do you want lap times or cumulative times? This is 5 kilometers, so cumulative makes more sense. But if you're running, say, 10 kilometers on a track, lap times would probably be better. We have a checkpoint at halfway point, 2.5 kilometers. I'm guessing it'll take at least 2 minutes to get there, otherwise we'll have a world record. And I don't want them to take more than, say, well, 50 minutes for instance. And our lap distance is 2500 meters, which makes a nice 5k. These are all optional, by the way. You don't have to fill them in, but it'll give you more information. For instance, if you fill in the lap distance, you'll get an average speed. If you fill in the minimum time, you'll notice if somebody, for instance, makes a really short run, cheats, or by accident runs over the mods, stuff like that. So it's a good thing to do. Now it'll warn me because I add some checkpoints that should reload all the data. We haven't got any real data, but we can reload anyway. You'll notice that you get some extra times here, so that's good. I'll leave the unseen. No, I'll change the unseen as well. And I'll explain later why I should do that. Well, actually I can explain it now. It's much easier to do this way because I'll also start the unseen of the unused race as well when I start at 5 kilometers. This means that if there was a mistake made handing out the bib numbers and somebody got a bib number they're not supposed to, like 30 in this case, he'll actually start the race and at least you'll get a result, so it's much easier to troubleshoot later on. So what do we have so far? We have two distances, one which we shouldn't have anybody actually starting in, but we'll see when we start the race, and a 5 kilometers. The 5 kilometers has a checkpoint on the start, the halfway point, and on the finish. We'll use the simulator here, but for a normal race we guess we have a reader on the start and one at the halfway point. So you can reuse the reader at the start for both the start and the finish. It's not a big problem. Right, now the next thing we need to do is configure our readers. So I'm going to, I only have a simulator here, so I can't actually add like 2 readers, but I'll show you how it works. This is the add reader button, by the way. You'll get 4 options. I don't have a nice picture for this one yet. It's a new reader from iPico. It's not officially out yet, so we'll get a picture there as soon as possible. But for now you just have the light reader, the elite reader, and the remote reader, which is essentially one of the other 2 on a remote location where there's no direct connection and you use the internet to connect to it. I'll come to that in a later video, but it hasn't changed much since the previous video I made, so I might just link that one. For now I'll just use an iPico Elite reader. I can give it a name. Since I'm using a simulator, I'll give it a simulator, but you could use Elite at start or its IP address or whatever you want. The IP address 127.0.0.1 means local host. Since I'm running the simulator on this computer, that's correct. But usually it should be 10 dot something or 192.168 dot something. Checkpoint. We'll leave this one empty for now. It's very important. If you don't know what this does, don't fill anything in there. Essentially you can force a reader into a checkpoint. So if I would want to make sure that everything my reader does will end up in the 2500 meter, I could put it in here. I could put in 2500 m here, so to make sure that all the data from this reader will go to the 2500 meter point. It has both advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage is that iPico is pretty intelligent about where to put the data, and you basically disable that. Which is also the advantage, because if you don't want iPico is to be intelligent, you can force data in a specific checkpoint. So I'd use it with caution. Now the mode we have is first seen, last seen, all, and first seen and last seen. It's a new feature. It only works on Elite and Octal readers. Basically you can set the mode to only acknowledge the first time the tag is seen on that reader, the last time the tag is seen on that reader, or both of those, or just give me all data. Since my simulator doesn't actually support first in last in yet, I'll leave it on all, but I guess you can understand how that works. So we'll save, and this will give you a new iPico reader here. If you mouse over, you'll get a nice tooltip which will tell you some information: the type, the IP address, checkpoint, state, it's currently disconnected, the number of unique tags, read, which is which is also in the between the parentheses here. If you right click, you'll get a new menu which basically gives you all the items you could do with the old system. Connect, edit, I can edit this one if I want. Reset the tag count, which will just put it to 0. Clear the reader history. Sync the time. Time sync is very important if you have multiple reader boxes. I can't specify that enough. Basically, if you have two readers in a race, they both should be time synced to the same laptop and just once. So in the morning, turn on the readers, take one laptop, which preferably one which has the correct time. Sync the time to both of the readers, and then don't time sync at all with any laptop, because even though most laptops time sync to the internet, they will have a small time difference. Well, small, when I say small, it can actually run up to like a minute or something, and you don't want both of your boxes to run on a different time. I mean, they have to run on the same time, which is the most important thing, and it would be nice if they all run to, well, the real time, and at least as close as possible. So time sync once, don't time sync again. And you can download the tag files from the readers. This only works on Elites, obviously, because the Lite doesn't have a hard drive, but it's a nice feature. And delete, you just remove it from the system. So for now, we'll just connect to the reader. So you saw a little icon pop up there before it went green. That's the icon that indicates that the time isn't set correctly on the Elite. So it just checked Elite and it saw that the time was correct, which isn't surprising considering it's running on the same PC as the simulator is running on the same PC as the iPico is. Of course, the time is correct. If you mouse over, you'll actually see the time difference, which is the time it took for the iPico is to send a little bip to the simulator and get an answer back. So it's at 0.1 seconds, which is actually quite a lot for this. So, and you can see we're connected, which is also the little green bub is a good indicator. So basically we're connected to an iPico reader. We have a race ready, 5 kilometers with 25 contestants. None of them has started and none of them have finished. So what else is there to do? Well, we also would like to provide some information during the race. This can be on a scoreboard, like a big LCD panel, or perhaps you would like to export it to the web, so you can show a live stream to the on the website, stuff like that. We can do that as well. If you use the 200 to 218 builds, you notice that there's a display panel here. It still works, basically the same as it was, but there's a lot of new options in the settings menu, so I'm going to open that now. And you'll notice that there's a couple of new tabs here. This is all sort of under construction in this build, so it might be a little bit different in the version you're getting, but it should be basically the same. So I'll run through the settings quickly, even the old ones, so you get a nice idea what's possible. So if you open the general settings, this is the base folder. Don't change unless you really need to. The language, a couple of languages supported. Number of live view items is the number of pops you get here. When somebody crosses the finish line, there'll be a nameplate here telling you who it was, so you can keep an eye on things. 50 is generally fine. It'll just cut off the old ones once it goes over 50. Tag cooldown is 15 seconds. If you don't know what it is, don't change it, just leave it there. Number of tags threads, don't change that either, especially not too high, because your CPU will get overloaded very quickly. And expand quick export, if you don't know what that is, just leave that alone as well. Now the license, you can enter your license here, I'll just skip that. Time forward format, currently set to 1 digit and the hour, so It'll always do, if you have a race that finishes in 32 minutes, it'll do 0 double colon 32 colon 21 or something. No hour means it'll do 32 colon seconds, so we'll leave it at this. Number of digits 1. Official standard should be 0, but I generally leave the 1, is nicer to see. Gun time for checkpoints, fine as well, so leave that. Display settings, this is basically a number of buttons you can enable or disable at the top. Clock buttons, if you don't have a clock you can disable this. PPL button, which is this one, which is for finish links. You can create a contestant file for finish links with this. So if you don't have a finish link system you can disable that. Show live results, I suggest you enable that because that's the nameplates that pop up here when somebody finishes, and the other two are essentially for specials instances, so leave this off as well. Well, then we have a second tab, which is a data server. We can send, I'm sorry, I'll just disable Skype quickly because somebody's pinging me. There we go. Right, we have the data server, which is a new bit of a new process which is running in iPico Wiz, which handles exporting data to the outside world, which can be a file or whatever. So the digital display is the first one I built, which is actually the screen which used from 201 to 218 I think, or 219 actually, because it's still used. You can put this on a big LCD panel somewhere. It'll run via the network or on this PC. We'll use it later on in the demo, and I'll show you how it works. The XML gateway, you can export to XML files. As you can see, it's under construction. It isn't actually operational yet, so as soon as this goes you can export the changes or a full copy of the contestant file to wherever you want in an XML format. SMS gateway is operational, unfortunately the hardware isn't. So we can enable this, and you'll notice that you get an extra setting here which will show you how many SMSs you sent and how many failed. It uses a web URL to send the SMS, so that is actually fully functional. So if you have like a web server or web service which you can enable this way, you can use this. As soon as the SMS gateway is finished, I'll show you in a different video how it works exactly. So for now we'll just disable it. Web service, which is also functional, though not very pretty yet. I can enable this and you'll get a warning saying that yes, you have web services enabled, but you haven't created an event yet. It's a separate license which you can buy from Split Time. We'll do that, I guess. It's probably a good idea to do it, so I'll create a new event. So the date of the event is 12.0.2015. You can use dash or slash, whatever you want. As long as you do day, month, year, it'll be fine. I'll say okay, you want to create a yes. So we're done with that. And the button will disappear, web service will be up. And you can check whatever you want to put on there. So you can say, I want to send all the labs to the web service as well. Or you can disable that. It sounds like a fun idea to do, but let's be honest. If you have a big race with, say, I don't know, 5,000 people, do you really want all the in-between checkpoints on the web site, or you think, nah, just when they finish is fine? Since we only have a small race, I guess we can send everybody all and leave it enabled. Enable the live stream, yes, you want that as well. This will be the feed, the URL you can use to monitor the feed. So you can just copy this to wherever, to the web browser. You'll see I already did that. So when we get to that. Right, email. If you want, you can also send email to people. You can send them on when they finish, or you can just manually send them. This is your email server. You can. Oh, that's a little bit weird, but that's login, username, password. You can use SSL if you wish. And it'll just send an email to the person if they have an email address at the end of the race. And they'll tell you, well, congratulations, you've done this race and your time will be this. So the messages you can send will be in the last tab. So you got a couple of options here. For instance, SMS, which should be short, of course. So in this case it will say, first name, your time for lap name was gun time. Well, this is a lap message, so that's fine. So in my case it would say, Leon, your time for 2500 meters was probably more than an hour in my case. You can do the finish message. Congratulations, Leon, your time for the 5 kilometers was 2 hours. This is live view, which is the web service, basically the same messages and the email message. Next version will probably have HTML support, so you can make a really nice message, but for now it's just text. Right, so we should have all that working. And I guess it's time to start the race. So the first thing you do when the race is about to start is you put them ready to start. What this does is a couple of things. First, it'll still ignore anything that happens on the mod. Well, it will store it in the file, but it will ignore it. So if people run over the mod by accident or stand on the mud, it's not a problem. It's annoying, but it's not a problem. As soon as the start button is pressed, on the light this is the big button on top. On the Elite you generally have a cable with a press button on it. As soon as that button is pressed, the race will activate and the little bulb will go green. The timer will start running and going up, and this timer will start going down. Now this only happens in a netto race, so that means you defined the race with a start checkpoint, like here. If you don't, if you do gross timing, which means gun time, it won't show up because this is used to calculate if a runner was missed at the start. So if you only have, for instance, a single line of mods at the start, which you shouldn't, by the way, and you miss one of the runners there, when he finishes, it will automatically detect that it missed it at the start, fill in the gross time, and calculate the results. So it's an autocorrective feature. But that does mean that while people are starting, this timer should not reach 0. So if the start takes longer than 2 minutes, so you for instance got 5,000 people, so you're probably going to take like 5 minutes, just put it on 7 minutes. It doesn't matter that much, as long as everybody has started when the timer reaches 0. That's the most important thing. Right, so we're ready now, and I guess we could start a race. So one more quick check. iPico is connected, races are set to ready to start. We have our contestants, the race is configured correctly, we have a start, a checkpoint and a finish, and my external things are ready as well. So I'll send a start signal, and I'll probably send a couple of tags so we can start. I'll probably start, let's say 27 people. So here we go, bang, start, race is starting. You can see that this is starting to go up, which is the race time. This is starting to go down, which is the time in which people can start. Right, let's start people all at the same time. Bang, we're done. So what happened there? You can see that after 13.8 seconds, essentially everybody ran over the mods at the start, so they're started. So you can see we have 7 people in this unused race. 3 of them have started, which means you're probably going to need another import file because these are late comers to the race or something. On the 5 kilometers you have 25 people, 25 started, which is good. And that's basically it. So now we wait until they reach the first checkpoint. Now remember, there's a 50-second cooldown on each tag, so don't, when you're testing with the simulator, don't send people over the mods more than twice in 50 seconds because it doesn't work, but in real life that's not going to happen anyway. So we're now 1 minute in the race, and I'll put this big one so you can see it. It's a little bit quick for 2500 meters, but what the heck. You'll see what happens when I start finishing people. So 1, 2, 3. Right. I'll stop it there. There's a couple of things happening. First thing is that you can see in the live view that the people ran over the mods. You can see who it was. It's always nice to view the finish line, or the checkpoint line in this case. Probably couldn't see that, but let's imagine. And you see 3 people coming, you see 3 people popping up here, so you know it's okay, everything works, it's fine. You also notice there's a little icon here, which tells you that this contestant has a lap that's too fast. How does that happen? That happens because here we entered a minimum lap time of 2 minutes, and he finishes or runs over the mud in 1 minute 20. So it doesn't mean it's a real problem, it doesn't have to be, but it's something you should be mindful of. In this case it's a demo, so who cares. Now you could also wonder what happens on say my display. So I should have this one already here. This is the digital display. I shrunk it a little bit so it all fits on one screen. So you can see this is what the people who are watching actually see on the screen there. It's set to live view, meaning that it will just display stuff that happens when people run over the mud. You can also set it to result and a couple of other options. You can also change the way it looks by pressing the setting button over here. And what you can see is you can have 4 areas in which you can put stuff. So if you put a cross in between, top left, top right, left bottom, right bottom. So the top left is currently set to live view, the top right bottom and the left bottom are set to nothing, meaning they are empty. So we just have one thing, in this case the live view. We can put a result there as well if you wish. Probably should turn on the unfinished results because they haven't finished yet. And you can see it'll show the results. And I'll go through those. Now as you saw, it's displayed the distance on there, which isn't really that useful in a 5 kilometer race. So I'll put a different name tag there and it'll look a little bit different. This is better, right? And it'll just scroll through all the results. So if once these are fixed, it'll go back to the 5 kilometer. And you can see this works pretty well. I'll put it back in live result because it's a little bit more action. Okay. Now next I opened the URL we got for the web services. It doesn't look like much yet, but it will in the future. And this basically updates every 5 seconds and shows you new data when it happens. So you can see welcome to Messenger, which is always displayed. Unused was started. Oh, okay, that's a little bit weird, but oh well. And the 5 kilometers has also started. That's great. Aletta Tuinstra laps in 0:13 seconds, which is correct. She was the first one, and we go. So let's finish a couple other people and see what happens. So that's 4 more, and as you can see, live view updates automatically. The website updates automatically. Still a little bit of nastiness with the time, which we'll fix. But other than that, basically you can give the URL to people watch on the smartphone or laptops or at home if they wish. And this is for the LCD panels. You can put as many LCD panels everywhere, as long as they're connected to the same network as iPico is, it should work fine. Right, let's finish up with this. It's probably easier just to finish everybody like that. There we go. That was a lot of data, so I think I just finished like... Ah, there's a couple of people finished already. Oh. I'm supposed to do it like that. Well, let's see what happens to the results. And by the way, if you want, you can just put live view there or results there. It's going to look a little crowded at the moment, but it does work. So this is the live view, so if people start to finish again, that'll update about now, I guess. So, and this is the result which we'll just go through. Now I'm just going to finish everybody, and while that is happening, I'll just show you another couple of options here. You can, for instance, do the speaker aid. which allows the speaker to enter say a bib number, and you'll get all the data. Now this doesn't look like much, but if you put the result or the live view here, you actually get a pretty nice little tool in which speakers can look up runners and actually keep an eye on what's happening on the finish as well. So we got a couple of people who finished. I think most of them actually did. And now we're gonna have to make the results. So how are we gonna do that? There's a couple of options for this. We can export all this data raw to Excel, and you can just play around with it as much as you like. But there's a couple of things you can do as well in iPico with. So first we'll start with, I don't want the unused, I would just want the 5 kilometers. So I'll sort this on 5 kilometers. So I only get the 5 kilometer race, and I would prefer, in this case they're already sorted on time because my simulator starts at the top and goes to the bottom, but I want to sort it basically not on bib number as it is now, but on result. If you put it on this, which is a little trophy, it'll sort it on result. Like I said, it's already sorted because that's the way the simulator works. But you can also see the last one, which is gives you all the problems. Basically it shows here everybody who has a little icon in front of it that indicates that something's wrong with it, like too fast in this case. Well, that's fine for now. So we'll export this and 5 kilometers. So I've got a couple of export options, which are the green arrows. First one is you can export it to comma separated file, and once I press it in the folder, you'll notice there's a quick export.csv. You can open this in Excel or whatever you're using for this. In this case I use OpenOffice, and you get the export. So we can put a data, you can put a filter on this, and we can just say, alright, I really only want the man in this case. There's a couple of fields here, lap count, lap correction. The correction is generally only used in a long duration runs, like a 6-hour race or a 9-hour race. Sometimes, especially when they're running in teams, there's a little error made. Teammate runs over the mods while he's shooting, stuff like that, so you can correct. Generally we just remove this one, it's not important. Distance, well, it's 5 kilometers, everybody knows that, so it's not important as well. Average speed is nice. Lap count, it's also not important for a 5K. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So we got the gun time, the gun result, the result, so which is the netto result, time they started, time they came to the first checkpoint, and the time they finished. So it's a nice easy way to make a result for I'll not save this. We can also export to XML, and I'll put this in the correct folder as well. Some timing information there. And this happens to load on my other screen. And this just exports the same data to XML. It doesn't put any the XML data is sorted on the way we said, but it's XML data, so you can sort it any way you like. And it has a lot more information, but you can pick out whatever you need. Right, that's about it. The only other thing you may notice is the button here. It's a last thing I just noticed I would like to talk about. It's the unknown tag file. Sometimes people have the wrong tag, or they have a tag from other race, or perhaps you're even loading the wrong tag map file, and it would be nice to know, and maybe you need that information because that person only had that tag, stuff like that. So it happens, and I'll just show you what happens when there's some tags. You see the little number going up there. I'll put another couple other ones over. This means we have 3 tags which we don't know what they are. So you can just press the button, you'll get a new screen. You do need to change this, by the way. And you get the offending tags here. So you can just click on them. You get the tag number, when it was first seen, when it was last seen, and the number of times it was seen. And below here you get a list of all the tags, and you can just browse through the data. And for instance, you need the tag ID, you can just get it from this one. You can copy it. Fine, that's about it. Should there be any more questions, you can always reach me on my email address, which is l.dirks@splittime.nl. You can also reach me via Skype, which is Leon Dirks, and I wish you a pleasant day.